Armando Baker here.
It's Luke May.
This is Tyler Hansbrough.
University of North Carolina.
Here's North Carolina.
I just want to shout out my boy JBEAR_YT.
JBEAR_YT.
It's Carolina family, baby.
Go Heels.
Go Heels.
What is up, boys? Welcome back to another video. Today's going to be a very cool one. We're doing a UNC football deep dive for the 2021 season. Now, this is kind of a video you probably won't find anywhere else, I'm going to be honest, for at least the college level. At least the way I'm doing it right here. So what I did in this video, I pretty much took an idea of that franchise guy on YouTube. He's a YouTuber, does a lot of NFL and draft type stuff. And I took his deep dive format and just kind of put it to the college level of my favorite team, the UNC Tar Heels. So that's what I've done here. So go check out that franchise guy if you don't already know who he is. And let's get right into it. So the first category we have here is key departures and additions. Obviously, the key departures that we have for this season was De'Ami Brown and Daz Newsome at wide receiver, Javonte Williams and Michael Carter, 2,000-yard backs there. And then the one and only defensive player is Chaz Surratt, who played linebacker for the Tar Heels. All of the 5 of those guys have been drafted and are in the NFL now. Key additions, we got some good freshmen here, alongside one transfer, and that transfer is Ty Chandler at the running back position, which is going to be very key for this group, which we'll go to in a minute. But Javari Ritzy, D lineman, good addition. He's a 4-star kid. Keyshawn Silver is a 5-star on the D-line. Drake May is a 4-star quarterback formerly committed to Alabama. He's also the brother of Drake May. I have videos about all these guys, the key addition players, on my channel as well, so go check those out. Rod and Power Eccles, Rod Dilworth and Power Eccles, I should say, both 2 very talented linebackers, 4-star linebackers coming in, and JJ Jones, a 3-star wide receiver who is really, so far through camp from what I've heard, really outperformed his 3-star ranking. So let's get right into it. So now we're going to go position group by position group and give them grades and talk about them a little bit. So first, right here, we have the quarterback position. And I'm going to go with Sam Howell, obviously number 1, at a 99 overall. Best quarterback in college football, in my opinion. I really don't think it's too questionable that he is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, in college football, and definitely deserving of this 99 overall rating. Because if you're not going to give it to Sam Howell, who are you going to give it to, honestly? As for the QB depth here, I put Jacoby Criswell at the QB2 just because of the extra year of experience under the system. He probably knows it just a tad bit more better. And Drake May at QB3. Jacoby Criswell, I gave it 83, and Drake May gave it 82. So it's going to be very interesting after Sam leaves, more than likely this year, to see between Jacoby and Drake May, and maybe even Travis Boaz, who wins that starting job. I'm kind of leaning toward Drake May, but I'm not sure. Obviously, the coaches are going to know more about that than me. But yeah, that's the quarterback position. Let's go ahead and go over here to running back, which is probably the weakest position on this team. Although I kind of am of the philosophy of running back by committee. It's more of an NFL thing than a college football thing, but I think it can apply here. I have Ty Chandler at halfback 1, Caleb Hood at halfback 2, Ty Chandler 85 grade transfer from Tennessee. I think he's going to do really good, especially this O-line is a fantastic run blocking O-line. So I honestly am not worried too much about the running back spot. Although we don't have guys like Javonte and Michael, we have guys who can put up at least close to production as those guys, just because of how good the offensive line is and the team is overall. So yeah, there we go. And as far as halfback depth, we have DJ Jones at halfback 3, British Brooks, Elijah Green, and Josh Henderson also in that group. I think all of these guys are going to get reps throughout the season. I'm not sure how many reps. I think it's pretty obvious that Ty Chandler will get the majority of the reps, assuming he doesn't come out and just not play very well, which I don't expect to happen. Caleb Hood's a guy who's a 3-star out of high school. We didn't really expect to be halfback 2 right away, but apparently he's been really good in camp. So, and it's looking like he is going to be the halfback 2. DJ Jones, and he's a sophomore, I believe, a freshman. Excuse me, a redshirt freshman, I believe, or maybe a redshirt sophomore. I'm not sure. But yeah, he's really talented as well. British Brooks is a senior. Got some reps in the Orange Bowl. Didn't look too great, but he'll definitely be getting reps in that running back room. Elijah Green and Josh Henderson are also the same way. Let's go over here to receiving. We jumbled wide receivers and tight ends in this category. As you can see, Bo Corrales is my wide receiver 1. I think people are really sleeping on Bo Corrales, man. He had the injuries that he missed most of last season with, but he's back now, and people forget how good he was. He's a great jump ball receiver, great target in the end zone, a big mismatch problem. I gave him an 87 overall grade. Choffrey Brown apparently is De'Ami Brown. Well, obviously, we've seen Choffrey Brown in games, but from what we've heard from camp and people who are around the program and stuff, he's pretty much De'Ami Brown, but faster. I mean, that's what people are saying. I can't speak for that myself, but I have him at wide receiver 2 there. And Josh Downs, I do have a higher grade than both Bo Corrales and Choffrey Brown, and an 88 overall. I just put him at wide receiver 3 because that's kind of the slot position. He's probably going to have more production than both those guys, honestly, just because Josh Downs is such a special talent. We saw that in the Orange Bowl there. And as for wide receiver depth, we have Emory Simmons and Antoine Green in the 80 and 79 range there. Emory Simmons is going to be taking the top off the defense this year. He's going to be really good and really productive with the increased snaps he's going to be getting. Same thing with Antoine Green. He's a really good player. Got injured early on in his career in Syracuse, I believe, but he is fully back and ready to go now. Gavin Blackwell and J.J. Jones are 2 freshman wide receivers who I think will be really good this year. And Justin Olson and Steven Gosnell are 2 guys who you probably have not heard about at all, but they're going to be getting some snaps at wide receiver. Not sure what their level of production is going to look like or how much playing time they are going to get, because I think Bo, Choffrey, and Josh, along with Emory and Antoine, are going to get a lot of reps because they're going to be really good this season. But I think Justin Olson and Steven Gosnell could be decent pieces in this receiving core. As for tight end, our starting tight end is going to be Garrett Walston, coming back for his 5th year in the program, if I'm not mistaken. I gave him an 86 grade at tight end. He does a really good job being overall balanced and trying to protect the quarterback. And he didn't get targeted as much as he should last year, but I think he's going to get more targets this year and hopefully get drafted like his main goal is, apparently. And at tight end, too, I have Kamari Morales. We've seen him get a decent amount of reps as well. I gave him a 77 grade. As far as tight end depth, John Copenhaver, Kendall Carr, and Bryson Nesbitt. As far as potential goes, I love Bryson Nesbitt. I think he was a great pickup in this past class. Not sure if he's going to be ready to contribute right away to this team, but I think for the future, he's going to be a really big mismatch problem for linebackers or slot corners or whoever's defending Bryson Nesbitt. So let's go over here to the offensive line, which I think is one of the best offensive lines in the ACC, if not the best overall. Obviously, teams like NC State and Boston College have really talented guys there, but I think the overall balance on this offensive line might be better just without as much of the star potential that those other O-lines have. So at left tackle, we have Asim Richards, or Asim Richards. I'm not exactly sure how to say that, but I gave him an 83 overall grade. He's a young tackle. He's only a junior, so he'll more than likely be back for next year. Joshua Zudu, I think, is a red shirt junior, and he's been an absolute stud during his time at Chapel Hill. So, yeah, our guard situation in Carolina, solid. I mean, fantastic. Borderline. I mean, goodness. 91 overall for Joshua Zudu. Brian Anderson at center has been really consistent. It's been a little bit of a struggle to find a backup who can give Brian Anderson some reps off, but I think we do have that this year. We'll get to that in a second. Marcus McKeithen, he's an NFL caliber guy. I think he's going to be really good this year like he has been in the past years. And Jordan Tucker at right tackle is kind of the leader on the offensive line, if I had to say. He's a great player as well. Gave him an 88 overall grade. Tackle depth, we have Jonathan Adorno, Caden Baker, and Wyatt Tunall. Some other guys I'll mention later on in this video, I think can also get some offensive line reps, but I didn't put them there at the tackle depth. Guard depth, William Barnes and Ed Montilus. William Barnes is a guy who can play tackle. He might get some reps at right tackle when Jordan Tucker gets some breaks in there. And Ed Montilus is fantastic. He's a starting caliber guard on most O-lines in the conference. But this having Joshua Zudu and Marcus McKeithen is just a fantastic depth piece to have with Ed Montilus. So both those guys get 80 overalls. And then at backup center, we have Kurion Johnson, who honestly, I think he's going into his final year, if I'm not mistaken, this year. And I've heard a lot of great things about him, so I gave him a 78 overall there. Now, transitioning from offense to defense, we have the defensive line. And this is where things kind of get a little bit interesting / confusing because of the way that UNC plays their defense, plays their sets. So I'll explain it a little bit later when we get back to the linebackers. But right here I have 2 defensive tackles and 1 defensive end because most of the time one of those outside linebacker hybrid roles plays kind of as one of the end roles. So, but we'll get to those guys in a minute. But as for the defensive ends, defensive end 1 for me is Tamari Fox, kind of a defensive tackle / defensive end. He can play either one, but I think he's going to be really good this year. 82 grade for him. At nose tackle / D tackle 1, I have Raymond Vohasek. I think he's going to be fantastic. He's been hyped up as one of the best defensive tackles in the ACC this year. I think he is going to be that. He's going to get less reps than he has, but that's going to mean he's going to be more well rested for the snaps that he does get to play. It's going to be a really impactful player for the Tar Heels. And then Miles Murphy, such high potential in Miles Murphy is what I'm trying to say. I heard that he increased his squat from like 300 something to 500 something, which is crazy. He's going to be moving O-lines back like nothing, so that is going to be great there. Defensive tackle depth, Kevin Hester. I'm very high on Kevin Hester. I give him the same grade as Miles Murphy, actually. I'm so high on Kevin Hester. I think we're going to see him be really impactful here. His ceiling might not be as high as Miles Murphy, but I think his production this year could be on the same level. He's going to be fantastic. And then Jaleel Taylor, Christian Varner, Klein Pender, and Keyshawn Silver, the 5-star freshman we were talking about earlier, are going to be some D tackles to look at there as well. And for the defensive end depth, we have KBJ, Kedrick Bingley Jones, and Javari Ritzy both at 77 overall. Javari Ritzy is a guy who's came in and apparently been like the best freshman player that the Tar Heels have seen so far. Just hearing stuff from like all these Tar Heel insiders, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's the defensive line. So let's go to the linebackers, and then you guys will kind of see where I put the linebacker situation in the outside linebacker / hybrid role. So hybrid is kind of the outside linebacker / defensive end spot, which is where Tamon Fox and Desmond Evans land here. Tamon Fox is entering his 6th season as a Tar Heel, probably going to pass Lawrence Taylor on the all-time sacks list in UNC history, which is just crazy to think about. But Tamon's been fantastic. 87 overall grade, and although he doesn't have the highest potential in the world, he's going to be very impactful this year for the Tar Heels. Hybrid 2 is Desmond Evans, and he didn't have a great freshman season, which is why he's only at 81 overall, but his potential is sky high. From everything I've heard, he's more physical and more well built for the college level, way better than he was last year. And as far as the inside linebacker spots go, Jeremiah Gemmel is just the captain of the defense. No ifs, ands, or buts are bad about it. Jeremiah Gemmel is going to be an NFL caliber guy. He's not the greatest athlete, but he knows football just about as good as anyone probably on this team. He understands offenses so well, and he knows pretty much what's going to happen before the ball is even snapped. And Eugene Asante is also a guy with a lot of potential, but he's only had one career start, so it's hard to say that to pinpoint him at a higher overall than the AU right now. But I think I forgot to mention Jeremiah Gilmore at the 92 overall, as you can see on the screen. And as for a hybrid / outside linebacker depth, I have actually Tyrone Hopper at a higher overall than Desmond Evans. Just because I like Tyrone. He's had more production than Desmond Evans has so far, but obviously it does seem like Desmond Evans is going to get the starting caliber reps, but we haven't really seen the production yet, so I do have Tyrone Hopper slightly at a higher overall, even though his potential is not as high as Dez. And so yeah, he's at 83 there. Chris Collins and Kamon Rucker both at 77 at that hybrid role as well. And also at inside linebacker, we have Cedric Gray, who's a sophomore, possibly going to get those third string reps from what I'm hearing, and Power Eccles and Rod Dilworth, two extremely talented 4-star inside linebackers that we were talking about earlier. It's just, are they ready yet to compete at this level? So inside linebacker is a very talented position. It's not necessarily the deepest position on this team, which isn't great, but I think they'll be just fine at that spot. And last but not least is the secondary, which could be, outside of quarterback, the best position group on this team. I mean, when you talk about the outside boundary corners that you have, being Tony Grimes, Storm Duck, Kyler McMichael, Day Hollins, I think all four of those guys can legit be NFL players. Definitely the top three I was just saying. Tony Grimes and Storm Duck, I both gave a 93 grade to. I think they're both going to be fantastic, all ACC type corners. And we saw it last year. Well, Storm Duck didn't get to play as much as he would like because of injury. But I think Storm Duck's going to be back in time for the season to start. But those guys are just absolutely insane talents, two of the best corners in the ACC and in college football in general. And Kyler McMichael, I think, transfer junior from Clemson. He has a national title. He's the third cornerback on this team, which is just crazy to think about. Kyler, I gave an 89 overall grade. I think he's going to end up in the NFL as well, probably following next season. So yeah, these guys are extremely talented. Outside boundary corner might be the second best position group on this team. And as well as Day Hollins at 83. Obi Agbuna also can play. He hasn't got that many opportunities yet to play, but he can play. He can ball out. 79 grade for Obi. And then DeAndre Boykins and Dontavius Nash are nickelbacks. Oh, I forgot to mention Don Chapman. What am I doing? Don Chapman is going to be playing nickel this year. He's more familiar at safety, which is why his grade's a little bit lower. It's at an 84. I think just because of the position change, we're not sure how that's going to turn out. I think he's a better player than an 84 overall, but the position change could affect his play just in the early going at least. So yeah, I like Don Chapman a lot, and DeAndre Boykins and Dontavius Nash will be those backup nickelbacks. And then at safety, we have Trey Morrison and Jaquarius Conley. Trey Morrison being at free safety and Jaquarius at strong safety. Trey Morrison's been around. He is a senior this year. I think he's going to get some NFL camp invites at the very least. He's a very versatile player. He can play outside corner, nickel, free safety, strong safety, pretty much anywhere you want. Trey Morrison can play on the defensive side of the ball. And Jaquarius Conley, huge guy. He's really built his body over the past year in Carolina. He's a big hitter, very physical player. I gave him an 88 overall grade at the safety position. And then safety depth, we have Cameron Kelly, a former transfer from Auburn, who's also very versatile, similar to a Trey Morrison type guy. Giovanni Biggers, who apparently has came on to the scene in camp the past couple of months. And Cameron Roseman Sinclair is a very talented guy out of high school who hasn't got many opportunities yet, but he's going to be one of the guys this year in that secondary. So that wraps it up for the defensive side of the ball. Now the last thing we're going to be talking about here is what I like to call the JBEAR 4. The JBEAR 4 are 4 guys who you probably do not know. If you're just a casual UNC fan, you almost definitely have not heard of these guys. If you keep up with recruiting and all that stuff, you probably have. I have videos on most of these guys here as well, except for the guy in the bottom, which we'll get to in a second. But these 4 guys are guys who probably won't make an impact this year, but in the future, I think these could be future stars at the ACC college football level. First being Dante Balfour. I have a whole video on him. You can check it out. He's a fantastic player. His highlights were as good as any player I watched last year, legitimately. And I think he was only a 3-star according to like Rivals and 24/7 and stuff like that. But he is an absolute ball hawk. He's very versatile. He can play any DB position you want him to play. I'm very, very high on Dante Balfour. Probably won't get to play too much this year, but in the future, I expect big things from Dante Balfour. Kamaro Edmonds is a running back recruit that was brought in this year. He's a true freshman this year. He's got a lot of talent in a running back room that is not the greatest group on this team. I could see him honestly getting some reps this year, but coming in, he wasn't an early enrollee, so he's got to learn the playbook a bit more. But in the future, Kamaro Edmonds is going to be fantastic. Diego Pounds is an offensive tackle who is an incredible athlete who could even provide some backup minutes this year, although probably more likely in his sophomore, junior, and senior years. But he's going to be a fantastic player as well. And Malik McGowan is the final guy. He's an offensive lineman as well. Can play anywhere on the O-line. He's very versatile. A big-bodied player who can block with the best of them. So those are the JBEAR 4 guys who I expect to be very good in their times at UNC. And that's going to wrap it up for this UNC 2021 why do I keep saying NFL? This deep dive for the 2021 UNC football team. I didn't include predictions in this. I might do a separate prediction video, but I appreciate you guys watching and all the support you guys have been giving. Also, I wanted to mention that I moved back the my fantasy football draft to, I think, this Saturday. I'll leave the link to the draft in the description for the fantasy football if you guys want to join that. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, turn on post notifications, do all that YouTube stuff, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.